There are 5 new minor league stadiums in MLB the Show 23, and after the first few weeks of the game being out, we asked the community what their favorite new parks were. If you haven't played at any of these parks yet, stick around and we'll take a deep dive into what makes each of these new ballparks unique. My name is Kasabi from Showzone, thank you for watching, and let's take a look at some of the results from our Twitter poll. If you haven't given us a look on Twitter yet, be sure to follow us at MLB the Show Zone. But the polls received over 500 votes. There were 5 different stadiums to choose from. The least popular of the new minor league stadium parks is Sawyer Memorial Park. Now this isn't too much of a surprise. For those of you who don't like playing at max elevation stadiums, Sawyer Memorial Ballpark is the lowest elevation of the bunch at only 108 feet. It also has a crowd of over 15,000 fans, so I'm not entirely sure how much the frame rate affects minor league stadiums or stadiums in general, but that might also kind of carry in. Sawyer Memorial Ballpark takes place at an airport, so you can see some really good airplane props in the background, as well as the visitor center, whatever you want to call it, in center field. In the field of play, there is a short left field porch with some low walls. Over in right field, it's a high wall and fairly deep. And in center field, you'll hit a lot of doubles and triples as there's some jagged edges to the walls out there in center. Not too much to this ballpark. It's going to stay in the field of play more often than not. It's not going to take off kind of like the planes out there in center field. So if you're looking to get some extra base hit missions such as doubles or triples, but don't want to hit a ton of dingers or let your opponent also hit some home runs, this might be a good ballpark for you to use. Coming up next is DCJ Field, which had 14% of our votes. This is the next lowest elevation field at 1,009 feet, and also has the second largest crowd with 10,000 fans. There is a tall fence over in left field, so if you don't like hitting home runs with right-handed hitters and you're getting sick of Camden Yards, this might be a good backup plan. Center field is also fairly elongated, but there's a short right field, so you might be able to hit some home runs with some more left-handed hitters. Bit more of an old school theme. There's some older looking buildings and one of the older scoreboards over in right field. I have noticed this year there are some glitchy props, such as the buildings or walls, where if they're placed on top of each other, there is a little bit of like a light bending, or just some errors with like the meshing of the two props together. DCJ Field, it's a little bit less obvious than some of the other stadiums, but if you look behind home plate and into the crowd, you will see some of these visual settings and bugs appear. Again though, the stadiums with the 2 lowest percentage of votes are the ones with the lowest elevation, so what we learned from you guys is that you love hitting at high elevation stadiums with a lot of home runs. Second and third place were fairly close, but coming in third place was Hatchet Field with 19% of the vote. Now, contrary to the last park that we looked at, Hatchet Field actually has quite a short porch over there in left field, which is primed for some right-handed hitters. Center field and right field, meanwhile, are pushed back a considerable amount. We don't have the exact dimensions, but you're going to hit a lot more home runs with the left side of the field. The only drawback to hitting so many home runs over to left field is there is a scoreboard that is absolutely ginormous, so if you can withstand that while playing at this park, go ahead and hit as many home runs over to left field as you'd like. I did notice when looking around this ballpark too, there are quite the number of obstructed views for the fans. So if you're sitting in these seats right here, good luck seeing part of the game. Hatchet Field's elevation is 3,250, so a little bit above average from what you might expect, and it also holds about 7,000 fans. In second place, just garnering a few more votes than Hatchet Field, is Capitol Lang Field. Capitol Lang has some of the highest elevation of any of the parks in the game, just under 5,000 feet of elevation. It also has one of the smallest crowds of these new minor league stadiums, so if you think that the fans affect the frame rate at all, this one might be a good one for both the elevation and the number of moving bodies in the crowd. While the right field portion is drawn in a bit, the fence is a bit higher, so it kind of evens out. There's a huge hill over in right field. This park has some of the more glitchy walls that I've seen. There's just a lot of blinking red wall portions as you're going throughout the ballpark. But all in all, a pretty great field. There's plenty of trees and vegetation, along with some older looking buildings over in left field. If you get the right launch angle, you should be able to hit plenty of home runs over in right field, but the elevation will probably help out with that as well. And coming in first place with over a third of the votes that we received is Shield Woods Park. Shield Woods Park is remarkably just 1 foot above mile-high elevation at 5,281 feet. It also has one of the smaller crowds of these new minor league stadiums at 7,000. I personally like the look of this ballpark the most. The vegetation, the rocks, it makes me feel like I'm in a real place. And the crowd in the building settings over in right and behind home plate are the most natural looking of the bunch. I do think the farm and the cornfield in left field is a little bit out of place compared to the rest. It reminds me more of a national park, but that farm just kind of is a little bit out of that setting. And similar to Capitol Lang Field, there is a large right field fence. It's a bit taller than Capitol Lang Field. But again, with the elevation, you should be able to hit plenty of dingers on accident. I also think this has a great batter's eye. It fits the theme of the park with the wood, but also blends in with the rocks in the background where you're not going to lose the baseball too much. All things considered, this is a great looking ballpark and it has plenty of offense involved, which I think a lot of players tend to like both of those things. Let's look at the results of the poll one more time. Shieldwoods Park with 226 votes, over 33% of the votes, and almost 100 more than the second place park. But a lot of the other parks received anywhere between 12 and 20%. Some of the minor league ballparks can play more smoothly than their MLB counterparts, so if you enjoy playing at Coors Field, maybe try out Shieldwoods Park and get that smoother experience if you're on something like Nintendo Switch. Let us know in the comments section if you agree with the results of the poll, or if there's another ballpark that you like for another specific reason, such as competitive play, or maybe just the overall charm of the stadium itself. Signing off for now, this is Kasabi from Showzone. Again, be sure to follow us on Twitter at MLB the Showzone, or you can check out our website at showzone.gg. We'll see you next time.